So it's time to check in with Stuff Magazine's tech expert, Toby Shapshack, about what's happening in the world of technology. Good morning to you, Toby. So Apple has started making its own chips for its laptops. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's a big thing, Jane. It seems like it isn't, but it really is part of a much bigger backdrop of things. Firstly, Apple has always made its own hardware, except for important processors and hard drives and other things. But in the last 10 years or so, while it's been making the iPhone, it's been making there's a particular kind of chip architecture called ARM that's used for mobiles, and Apple has had great success in making pretty much every year a new chip to run its new iPhones and its new iPads, etc. And Intel has been struggling in many years. It was the king of the desktop era. It still sells lots of processors for servers. That's the business that's not going away. But it's failed to convert itself to become the processor for these mobile devices like the one I'm talking to you on. And that's been a really significant thing because Apple has been champing at the bit to have a new chip so that they can bring out new laptop models, and Intel can only give them every few years. So now Apple thinks it can do that itself, and these are the very first chips that is brought out. But it's part of a much bigger picture, which is that mobile is eating the world, as the phrase goes. Mobile services, mobile devices, mobile internet, all of these things are taking over from the predecessor, which was all desktop-based, which was, the desktop era was Windows and Intel. And now they're very different kings of this era, and rarely are the kings of one era the kings of the next. Excuse me.
Bless you. See, I didn't say it before you sneezed, otherwise that would have been really frustrating.
Very strange. Why did you suddenly just stop talking? So it's a big, big move. Apple, of course, has always been a pioneer. It invented the original PC. It invented the smartphone, or the iPhone that I'm using to talk to you. It's invented a whole range of technologies, and here it is reinventing itself yet again, 15 years after a massive reinvention, which included switching to Intel chips, and now they're switching away, and it's going to be very interesting to see how well these computers perform. But there's another...
Okay, Toby, I'm going to have to jump in here because we've got very little time this morning. What about Airbnb? They're planning to list this year? Sounds like a smart move.
Amazing. Well, I wouldn't think so. I mean, it's been a terrible year for the hospitality industry. All of those people who bought houses or flats or second properties hoping to sell them on Airbnb, or people who made extra income using Airbnb have not a good year in terms of COVID and the lockdown, the restrictions on tourism and travel. But they say they still want to IPO, and they're going to bring out their financials perhaps even next week. So it will give us a really interesting insight, not just to Airbnb's business, because we need to know what the fundamentals of that really are, but also just how bad this year has been for everybody.
Toby, thank you for that. So if you were hoping to get your hands on Sony's PlayStation 5 console, I've got some bad news. Many global pre-orders that went live this morning are already sold out. It was launched online with limited pre-order sales due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Sony launched in this manner in order to maintain social distancing. Some retailers in South Africa have not been able to honor their order dates for the console due to logistical issues.